Mr. Speaker.
I call Stuart Nash.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is an interesting debate because I've heard Shane Ardern and Tim McIndoe stand up and trumping about the wonderful things they've done around fixing the rights for animals. Well, that is good and it's great, and as it's been mentioned, we all support that. But I would love members of the government to stand up and talk about some measures they're going to put in place to help humans.
Well, we'll do that.
Well, what have they done? There's been a whole lot of cuts. Let's start at one end, the beginning of life. There's been cuts to early childhood education. At the other end of life, absolutely, Mr. Speaker, I'm bringing it back in.
This is a third reading speech, not a first reading speech, and it's about animal welfare.
Very much so, Mr. Speaker, and that is a great debate. One of the first legal debates we did at law schools is a fish and animal. And I suppose that comes down to is a human an animal? And of course a human is an animal. That's why I'm talking about the welfare of humans as well as the welfare of animals. And I'm saying what's happened here is the welfare to human animals has been cut from home help to early child education and everything in between. The only animals that have benefited from that government are actually the ones that walk on 4 legs. Certainly not the ones that walk on 2 legs. There's no doubt about that whatsoever, Mr. Speaker. So when it comes to animals, I do support this bill. I mean, who wouldn't support this bill? Who wouldn't support this bill? I will talk about this bill. As mentioned, this bill initially came in under Simon Bridges. But no longer, I suspect, because as Mr. Bridges admitted last night in the debate, he lost about 50% of the cases that he heard as a prosecutor or defender. I don't quite know how that worked. You know, you toss the coin. 50% you won, 50% Mr. Bridges' lawyer. Goodness me, 50%. So what they did is they couldn't risk this bill being lost. So they took it from Mr. Bridges, looked for a safe pair of hands, and then gave it to David Parker. But anyway, here we are. Here we are. It's before the House, it's in a third reading, and it's going to be supported by everyone in the House, which is fantastic. So I suppose, Mr. Bridges, you've done well to pick it up to start with, and you acted in a very magnanimous way when it was ripped off you and given to a cabinet minister, someone more important. So well done on retaining your dignity. Someone with a lesser personality would have jumped up and down and whinged when such a simple task had been taken, but no, he did well. Yeah, and I must admit, I love the glasses. I love the glasses. They look good. I wonder if there are lenses in them, but no, you look very smart, mate. Anyway, animal cruelty is abhorrent. It's abhorrent to everyone. And we all know when photos of such abuse appear in papers and on TV, they always raise groans of disgust. And whilst animals are not humans, they're not humans, but many are treated in such a way, and I know of cat owners who actually think that cats are on a higher level than humans. Well, I will. The abuse shows a disturbing lack of not only responsibility, but also any thought of empathy whatsoever. It's quite frightening, actually. And, you know, we all know the stories about Guy Fawkes Night when kids set fire to dogs and cats. It's just dreadful. And Parliament has a role, and one of its roles is to send a message loud and clear that certain behaviour is simply not acceptable. And this is what this bill does. It sends a message that any abuse to any sort of animal is simply not acceptable to society. And so what we're going to do is really increase the measures wholeheartedly, and let's hope that this works. Let's hope it's picked up, and let's hope it's broadcast loud and wide. Now, I was astounded to read that in 2008 the SPCA had over 14,000 complaints of animal abuse. 14,000 complaints, and I know that only 110 were resulted in charges laid and 58 resulted in convictions. But my question is, what the hell is going on out there when 14,000 cases of animal abuse are being reported? Goodness me, we really need to do something about this. And one of the things we need to do is really fund the SPCA. Parliament did give them an extra $1.2 million over the next 4 years, but we rely on them in such a large extent, and yet we expect them to hold cake stalls and go raising money so they can do the public good. They need to be funded. They need to be funded, as well as money to early childhood education and adult community education classes and home help. But let's get back to these animals. One of the other ones is a fish an animal? Is an orange ruffy an animal? I'm not too sure. But anyway, I've been to the SPCA in Napier, and they do a fabulous job. But there's not just cats and dogs. There was even a turtle. There was even a turtle at the SPCA. The CEO of the SPA in Napier, a wonderful guy called Rob Johnson, has done an amazing job of turning this place around. He's got money, he's got the buy-in of the community, he's got local sponsors, but I know that Rob would like to spend more of his valuable time actually advocating for animals and building cases against those who neglect and abuse animals rather than out there and raising money. And this is what we have got to do. This is a classic case of an organisation that actually could do with more funding. But why is this important? And actually, it might have been Tim or it might have been Shane or Dern mentioned this. Tackling animal cruelty can actually have a greater benefit for society because there is a proven link between cruelty to the treatment of animals and abuse of humans. And I'll tell you about a 1997 survey undertaken by the Humane Society of the United States of 50 of the largest shelters for battered women. And it found that 85% of the women and 63% of children entering shelters discuss instances of pet abuse in the family. That is simply dreadful, and it's something we must do a lot about. Now I'm in a relationship where a cat shares the same privileges as me, except when it comes to rights over the couch or the prime cuts of meat. The cat's name is Mozzarella, and it's been around longer than I have, so I suppose it does have preemptive rights. But even in moments of tiredness, when the couch would actually be nice, but the floor beacons, thanks to Mozzarella's disposition, there is never, ever a moment when I would consider treating this ball of fluff any differently than I would consider treating a child. And the thought of cruelty, quite frankly, makes me feel ill. And I simply cannot understand how 14,000 instances of animal abuse can be reported. And these are the ones that are reported. These are the ones that are reported. And I assume it's probably the tip of the iceberg. So what I'm hoping is that this bill, as I mentioned, is reported. It's obviously supported well and truly in this House, but it's reported widely that the SPCA is given the powers, the police are given the time, the other agencies that do the work around this area are given the mandate to go out and really put into place the measures in this bill, and we see more convictions. They don't have someone like Simon Bridges as the lawyer, who he admitted, as mentioned, only wins 50% of his cases. It's not too bad, I suppose. It's better than the Irish rugby team against the All Blacks. But anyway, I support this bill, Mr Speaker, and I commend it to the House. Thank you very much.
For Sandra Gowdy.